All right. It looks like we are live on YouTube. Rob, did you get us going live in Facebook? There it is. Got it. We got it. Okay, everybody. Good evening and welcome to this hopefully interesting topic. This is a very broad topic that I kind of threw out there, but this was at a request of a uh, one of our PPD club members. They came up with a great idea for a webinar. Or just a general discussion. This doesn't have to be like long form, and I don't intend it to be long form today. So I know while you can't see me at home, I'm going to go ahead and go live on YouTube. That's the next thing. So let me go and switch this. Oh, YouTube does have me on YouTube. There we go. Hi, guys. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to the PPD webinar. This is the second one for the month of October 2020. We're going to review some basic grouping strategies and kind of, you know, think about things in a way that may not be relatively apparent to some people. While this may be old hat for some folks, this could lead to what I hope to be a great discussion in the PPD Zoom room. So if you are watching, head over. If you're watching on YouTube, so everybody on YouTube, you can join us in the Zoom room while we're here. And tonight we have an open Q&A discussion afterwards. That you can join us over at pixelprodisplays.com. And click on the link that goes to our Zoom room, our webinar room. So we have a webinar link. There's a bunch of links there on the page. If you're on Facebook, join us in the webinar room. You're welcome to jump in the room and enjoy the discussion that we're going to have during and after. We typically don't film the comment section, the afterward section. With that being said, before we get started, if you like what we're doing at PPD, give us a thumbs up on YouTube and in the comment section down below. Tell us if there's things that you'd like to see that we can do live for you. If there's discussion that you'd like to see, what information is it that you're missing? I'm more open to being able to do broad stuff versus very narrow focused stuff, especially at this time of the year. This time of the year, it's very much let's get everything running and get it open and going. So the high detailed stuff, we usually will hit that during the winter time whenever we have time to sit and discuss it all. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let's go to this right here. And I'm going to, whoop, can't do that, share my screen in Zoom so people can see this right along here. There we go. And there we go. I think we're good. I think we're good. I popped up here. I'm live on YouTube, and you can see my face on YouTube. I'm right where like the little cards go. It's kind of funny. But for you in the Zoom room, I know you can't see me. No big loss there. I have a face for radio, as they would say. So with that, what I want to do is I want to kind of walk you through what we would call, let's say, the kind of the challenges with building groups. So one of the things, there's a shout out I'm going to give to Peter Wine, who sent me a message after I had sent out the emailer today, letting everybody know about the webinar. He asked a great question, and so I'm going to start with that question because it's something that people tend to generally have. And that is whenever I'm creating a layout in xLights and I'm adding new stuff to my layout, or I'm adding something, I'm duplicating something, why can't xLights copy the groups that they're associated with and paste them? And unfortunately, I know this has been asked for time and time again, where you can come in here into xLights, you can in Windows, you can hit Control C, and then you can click anywhere else and Control V, and you can copy and paste it. But the problem is that if this was in a group, it doesn't duplicate the same group. It doesn't apply it to the same group, and that's a function that everybody would love to see. I'm rather sure that that's complicated to the point where it can be done, but it all depends on how much the developers have time to invest into figuring out how that works. So rather than beat the dead horse, I want to show you that I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to just choose the PPD wreath here. So we have a number of submodels here that are listed here as available. And what I'll do is I'll just take two of them. And this is the basics to creating a group, but I'm also going to show you this so that you understand when we get a little further down, because I do have a friend of mine, Jeff, who's going to jump on here, and he's going to take you through some very specific. I don't want to say too specific, but he's going to kind of walk through the things that he's done in his show and his layout, because he spent a lot of time developing and creating things for his own show. And I think if everybody kind of gets to hear it from a different voice and said a different way, you might be able to apply some of these same principles. So first of all, I want to show you how to create a group. And what I'm going to do is I've just gone down here. I've clicked on the little caret here. This caret tells me that this model has a submodel in it. And so I'm just accessing the submodels from this screen here. So you can create a group quickly by selecting using the Control key, maybe the Command key on Mac, I'm not so sure. And I have two of these selected. Maybe you can click and drag and select multiple. No, I don't think you can. If you hold the Shift key down, you can do that. But maybe I wanted to take a couple rings off the PPD wreath. I could use the Control or the Command key to do that. So I've got two selected, and to quickly create a group, there's an easy way to do that. You hit the right mouse button, and you right-click, and you create group from selections. So this is what's really helpful whenever you're trying to be creative with your groups. Now, I call these are spirals. I'll just call these spirals. And bam, you've got yourself a group created. There's no other groups created here whatsoever. Nothing at all. There's nothing fancy, nothing up my sleeve. This is just a basic layout with a bunch of props, and it's a little over the top compared to, it's not exactly a starter, but some people think that this is what you start with, and it's not. So you got yourself this group. Now, what I want to show you is in a release in xLights about a year and a half ago, or less, Keith added the functionality to export a model. And what I'll do is I'll select the model, and you can export a model and export the xLights model here. And I'm just going to put this in this xLights folder that I'm working out of, GeoWreath demo. Now I've already got one here. This is one that's set up already. But I'm going to do demos so that I know that that's the one that we're working with. So the next thing you see here is another screen. It says, look, attached to this model was a submodel, but was also a group. I created a group with submodels that were attached. What this tells xLights is, hey, there's some groups. You want to attach these groups that this model has applied to it. Well, yes, of course we do. So where before, when we were hitting copy and paste, if you copied the model and you pasted it, it didn't copy the groups. It didn't recreate the groups in the copy, and it didn't paste them when you pasted them. But you can always export the model, select those specific groups that you have them in, and then you can export the model, and then we can re-import the model, the demo. And it says, look, model contains model groups that already exist. Would you like to add this model to the existing groups? Well, yes, of course I would. So we have one group, spirals, and now if we look here, we have exact duplicates of our props. And what this does is this allows you to quickly create those, not create those groups, but to quickly add them to things that already exist. Now, the nice thing is it plays off the name of the submodel. So if the submodel is the same name and you add it in, even though maybe it's not the PPD wreath, maybe it's the mesmerizer, and it says spirals CW, and it's spelled exactly the same, it uses the same case, then xLights might pick that up and throw it into that spirals group. It might do that because xLights has been taught intelligently. Whenever you import a model, it might say, oh, hey, that belongs in this group because it already has those in this group. So that's something to pay attention to whenever you are importing your models. But more than that, I know this doesn't make a lot of sense for some folks, but whenever you do take the time to add on to your show, just add one item on. Let's say you have two of these big snowflakes. Well, just delete one of these snowflakes off, and then we create our groups. If we open this up here, we say, okay, I have arms, so we select those. We create a group from selections. We call this snowflake arms, right? Okay, bam, you got snowflake arms. Next we have tips, snowflake tips, create group. And then we have another, let's say, click on it again, and we have, where'd you go? Middle star and outer star. Let's just take those. Right click, create groups, and snowflake rings. And then the last group I want to create a snowflake group. So create a group, right click, snowflakes. Okay, well, guess what else I can do? I can also, this is part of understanding how to create groups and to create them quickly inside the layout. You can use your control key. You can select these individual snowflakes here. We just created that group, but we didn't add them. Oh, that polyline always screws you up. Okay, well, we'll just do those ones there real quick just for game's sake. We can add these quickly to that existing group. So see, we right click, add to existing group. What we can do is we can add to existing group, click the snowflakes box there. And that should add that to the snowflakes. So what you've got is you've got a couple powerful things in xLights. Now, unfortunately, the way that polylines work, whenever you try to grab something, it doesn't always grab it whenever you're working around a polyline. And it doesn't want to do that. So we do it one at a time, right? So here we go. Add to existing group. Snowflakes. Bam. There we go. Add to existing group. Snowflakes. Bam. Okay, so now we've created a couple groups that are associated with this snowflake right here. Hopefully somebody can mute their microphone on Zoom. I'm not sure where my Zoom console is. Okay, so anyway, we'll go ahead and what we'll do now is we'll actually do exactly what we just did with the PPD wreath. We're going to duplicate the prop by exporting it. Oh, you can always hit save here too because we just did a little bit of work on that. So let's go ahead and export this xLights model. Now, I know we're talking about models right now, but we have to talk about models in order to talk about groups. That's just the way life is. So let's add snowflake, and we'll call this snowflake demo, right? Because that helps. Okay, and then now it's asking me, hey, it says, look, this snowflake's attached to these groups. Do you want to export this with that model as well? Well, sure I do. I want to add the snowflake group in with it too. So all of those groups that are listed and shown, I want it attached to those. And we'll click OK. And it created it. Now, I'm pretty sure that's my snowflake group. Now, what happens if I click the import button? And if I go and I add in this snowflake demo, once again, we get this awesome little message. This model contains model groups that already exist. Would you like to add this model to your existing groups? Well, of course I do. So now let's go back up and test and see. Here's our second snowflake. If we go up here and we test and see, here's snowflakes. It added it to the snowflake group. Snowflake tips, it added the tips to the snowflake tips group. Where's the rings? There's the rings, and there's the snowflake arms. So this is pretty much the basics to um, what the gentleman who's going to be joining me, Jeff, here just in just a little bit. This is what Jeff spent probably the better part of 5 months creating, was our certified models. And we did certified models for this reason, so that you didn't have to sit there. If you go to the learning and you hit certified models, that's exactly what these 3 videos kind of walk you through. The difference is when I recorded these videos, it wasn't as tuned in and didn't work as fluidly as it does now. So I'm probably going to have to re-record some videos, is what I'm saying. But if you were to go and look at the Boscoyo Studios link, like I was just doing the Ice Queen flake there, or the PPD wreath, the Boscoyo, let's see, there's the Geo wreath right there. The latest model was 8/18 of 2021. This is the reverse wiring. Then you have the Ice Princess and the Ice Queen. So those are already pre-built. So if you've bought those and you follow the xLights wiring diagram, these are set up with the downloaded wiring diagram. So you can switch them out. You can download them. And it has some of those groups already built in. Now, we're not talking about just snowflakes. We're also talking about things like the mesmerizer, the mesmerizer. We're talking about the maybe some of the HD stuff that is available through Gilbert Engineering and EFL and such. So with that being said, the basics to understanding grouping is understanding that you have ultimate flexibility in being able to produce something for your show. So one of the other questions, and this is really what spurred the kind of the webinar tonight, was I don't personally, but let's say I have 2 PPD wreaths, or I have a mesmerizer. Actually, a better example of. Let me download one here. I'll import it from another folder. Let's see, Nutcracker, Dropbox, and we'll go in and we'll get the mesmerizer PD certified models. Okay, so this is a copy of the mesmerizer, probably one of the ones that I used in my show. See how I just added this in, and it added in a significant number of groups that are available to use to sequence with. There's the spinner rings, the spinner small arms, the spinners. See, that's what's nice about the certified model. I didn't go and download. I have it in a folder. But that's the kind of thing that what we've taken the time to do to set up in xLights is we've taken that time using those certified models. But more than that, what we've done is we've gone through and we've looked at physically what's in this model. Now, we've here at PPD we've talked about extensively. We have a number of videos on how to create submodels, utilizing submodels, sequencing with submodels, and we've submodeled you to death with everything that we talked about over, I would say, the past at least year. But one of the things that we haven't really discussed a whole lot is how do you become creative? How do you get out of your models the effects and the way things look a little bit different, so that everything either isn't doing the same thing. Maybe you like everything to do the same thing. Maybe you have 2 PPD wreaths and you want them both doing the same thing. Maybe you have a giant mesmerizer, which is also by chance it looks like a spinner. I mean, that's it's the same size as the 4-foot spinner that you see here on the screen. And they can do the same thing, but why would I limit myself to what it could do only as just a spinner? Why can't it do some of the things that are available on the PPD wreath? So what you can do is you can become creative. And this is where you can sit there and say, hey, you know, there's a bunch of spokes. Maybe I want to take maybe I don't want to take all the spokes. Maybe I want to take the even spokes. And there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. So there's 20. I didn't hold the control key down, so I just lost them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Doot, 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 and doot. So we can right click, create our group from selections. So so we have a new group we just created called Mesmerizer Arms Even. Now, what's important to know is that all of those arms, every submodel is available. You don't have to pick the arms. That's easy fodder for this because it's built like the way that it is. We can do a lot of crazy stuff with the Mesmerizer. So you've got let's see, this can be a matrix. You can put matrix. I love the Mesmerizer. Each individual ring, you could put like maybe 6 different rings or 3 different rings inside one group, and you can do different things on those rings to get some effects going and to map to those specifically. And why I'm showing you how to create the groups, and I'm going to turn it over to Jeff here in a little bit. Jeff, if you're ready, let me know. Send me a PM there, or Facebook, or through chat. Hopefully you're ready. Where did my Zoom go? Give me just a second. Oh, good. I just wanted to make sure you had your system was up and running. I didn't want to turn it over to you. So good deal. Okay, so in any event, this is the kind of thing we're talking about when we're talking about being a little bit more aware of what the group setups are and how you can utilize different groups for different aspects. So maybe what you would do is you would create this group here. Let's call this I don't know, create group, spinner, or so there's Mesmerizer rings. Maybe you wanted to create another group that you come down here and find some other things. The wedges are really cool because we did half wedges and full wedges. We did pedals like this. I like the pedals. Some people don't like the pedals, but that's okay. I created these pedals. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a little bit of fun right there. We can create a group from selections. So if my spelling's wrong, forgive me. I'm just in a hurry to show you little bits and pieces here. But the idea is that I'm creating these groups. And what Jeff's going to talk about, he's going to show you how he's applied effects from different things to the Mesmerizer or to other props or other HD props, that yield a different result in a different way, but still look good, and it goes along with everything else that's already set up in the programming. The last thing I will say is that layouts matter. Now, if you saw the thumbnail to I'm in the wrong directory here. Give me just a second here. Let me switch real quick here. We'll jump into the original layout. There we go. Let me just start out by saying the last thing that you need to understand about submodels or groups and submodels and preparing to map things. It's rather important that if you have a group that has submodels to it, like for example, in the original layout, we submodeled our window frames and we put verticals on them. So you have a vertical. We didn't put horizontals. I weren't thinking about it back then, actually. But we put submodels on the verticals. And if we go over and we look at what's set up, we have it set up as our master view, but we call it the new master. And we just scroll up and down here. What you'll see is the windows and door group, which is how we have our windows labeled. You do what works for you. We put all of our windows and doors in the group called windows and doors, but we also have this other verticals group that is part of those windows and doors, but it's also part. Here's a vertical up here. It's a other vertical. It's not a house vertical. It's a roof vertical. I guess we could have made another group, but the idea is whenever you set this up in your display elements, let's go to display elements. Here we go. When you set this up in your display elements, you need to make sure that you understand when your house is set up a specific way, that you put things in order so that you see effects render a certain way. And I'm going to demonstrate this. Now, this is in all this information I went into much greater detail into the video that talks about display elements, but it's a key point to note that depending on the location, and I'm gonna click on this master here, this new master, and if you notice here, we have house verticals, and then we have, we have windows and doors, and then we have underneath of it the other verticals. What that basically is going to mean, if I turn the on effect and we put the on effect onto those window frames or the other verticals, you'll see it here, what you can expect is if you put another effect onto the windows and doors, because of its physical location on the screen here, and I'm gonna, hopefully it works the way I think it is. I'm going to add the arches, and I am going to get rid of the white, and I'm going to turn it so they go up. So right now what you can tell is that you can tell that only the red is showing up underneath of the white. That means the white's on the top, and which means that the white has the priority, or the other verticals have the priority, because we've made that the master layout for the sequence. Now, if we switch these around, if we turn all of them on, I'll just move these into place. I'll put the other verticals on. Now you can see that we have the white on all the windows, but on the other verticals, you can see that now the effect runs through it. This is important because it's not written in stone exactly how you must set up your layout in order to render effects. If you buy your sequences, what I suggest is go to the vendor's sequence, open it up on your screen so that you can see their order of operation. So typically we put groups at the top, the larger groups with everything nested together, like all of your props in the all house, or maybe just your yard props, or maybe just your house props or your house decorations. But we keep all of our large groups close to the top, specifically because we want the individual effects on the lower groups, the smaller, the snowflakes, and your logical groups that are, arches and candy canes and the like. We want those to outweigh the effects that are on the all house. The all house, to us, to me at least, is kind of the nice little hit. It's a nice whoosh motion. It's a way to bring warmth and vibrance to the sequence. I don't like to really hit heavy onto that all the time, but it's fun to play with. So in doing so, what I'm doing is I'm putting these in a specific order with my bigger groups at the top and my specific sequencing at the bottom. You don't have to follow my rules. You don't have to follow the way that I sequence. But what's important is that if you're buying a sequence or you're importing a sequence and you see a certain look and it's not coming out the way you think it should, go back, and 9 times out of 10, their render order, their display elements are in a very specific order. And the bonus for that is it works for your sequence if you set it up the way that they did, and it is a per sequence basis. So if you create another new sequence, that new sequence doesn't have to follow the same rules as the other sequence did. The display elements master view, once you have made the master view and you've set it up, you can change this and render the sequence, and then you can render the sequence in another sequence. You can open up another one and do it a different way. So you're not locked in. We just have some best practices, and that's our best practice. But I just wanted to share that with you guys so that if you're trying to get some effects over top of a high definition prop and you have an effect on the all display, for example, and you don't see the white coming through underneath of them, there's got to be something going on why this isn't working, or why it isn't. So make sure that that you kind of understand that distinction. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw, let me see, I'm going to go over to YouTube and see if there's any question. If you guys have any questions or comments, throw them in the comment section. Facebook. I'm sorry, I'm not. I don't even see you on Facebook just yet. But in any event, if you have questions, you can put them in the comment section. I'll try to get to them, and even in chat room here if you're in the channel. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over to Jeff. If you have questions, put them in chat. I'll answer them whenever I come back, and then we'll open up to our full discussion afterwards. So I am going to stop sharing. So this is going to be fun. So, Jeff, go ahead and start sharing, even though Facebook, YouTube can still see it. Now let me get your screen and pop you onto another one. Okay, Jeff. You're live on YouTube now, and you should be live on Facebook as well. So by all means, go and walk everybody through. First of all, Jeff has a like super high definition, like you talk about going off the deep end. Jeff went off the deep end. So let's see if I can't make this bigger for YouTube. There we go. All right, Jeff, the floor is yours. Just show them what you got and show them how you came up with some of the interesting tricks, because I know you did some meticulous work in this layout. So I'll let you in. So are you saying, Jeff? Excuse me for barging in. No, I want to bring it up because so when you created those groups, you used the submodels to do that, right?
Whenever I map stuff to it, it's not running over the eyes or running over the mouth. I put the face effect down and I just keep it white. It's simple. But I do similar things with the reindeer. Um, it's just the outlines. So everything else is in a static. Um, Basically, I used a state effect. to keep the colors on, like his eyes, his nose, the bow, their hooves. Those all stay the same. So when you go over here and you click on, it's not working, of course. Well, let me make sure my audio is quiet.
Jeff, we have to mute the audio. Yep. YouTube will flag us for having
Oh yeah.
content.
All right, so we'll do it without the audio. This way you can hear me anyways.
Yeah, that's
All right,
that's
so
what that's why the developers added silent into xLights so that
yeah. Okay, so this it's probably easier to hear me anyways. Um, so you can see inside the bear, right? So the bow was normally blue, and what I did is I added effects. I think they were the arches. I added, yes, the arches to the outline of the bow. So this way, every sequence, it's basically going with the song. Same thing over here is, some people might think it's funny, but it's just got some effects that go with it, and less work that I have to do, and it just basically maps perfectly. But everything in my layout here is basically from, I didn't add anything else. This is all taken directly from one of the pro layouts. So most of it obviously is, the certified models is the way we did that was based on kind of, these right here, the Grand Illusions, is, how can I make these cool even though they don't have them? So I started playing with effects from the PPD wreath and then mapping them over into it, and then modifying some of the submodels to where the effects render better. And then we started noticing some other ones would, look better this way, with the way that they do it. So that's kind of how we came up with the certified models. But everything in here is mapped directly from the pro layout, and to an extent it's auto map now.
So, can you take a second and share with us in the layout tab, kind of click on some of those other models. Let's say the ones that you've created, um, like like your mesmerizer or your grand illusions and stuff, or baby grands or whatever, and
Yeah, so
and kind of because here's the challenge that so the biggest challenge is we stick to one PPD wreath in our pro layout, and the honest to God, the reason for that is when you start to have so many high definition props and they're all doing something. Number one, it's very time consuming to sequence an HD prop. All of the sequencers will agree with you with that statement. That I mean, you can just throw the butterfly on it and everybody's happy, right? But you can only do the butterfly for a couple seconds, and then you're like, nope, got to do something a little more spectacular. And the thing is that that doesn't always translate from, let's say, a grand illusion over to a PPD wreath or to some of the other neat things that Gilbert's done, or the mesmerizer or whatever. So how have you built the groups differently to create that? That's what I'd like you to kind of show the difference between your mesmerizer and maybe like what you're mapping from.
yeah, so in here, there's a bunch of groups, and this was, I guess you could say, some of it was from before we did the certified model. So I was going through and mapping stuff individually, and then some of it came in just based on the, it says PPD mesmerizer, flake, flowers, rings inner, rings outer, web. Like if you go download the model from Boscoyo, those are the ones that come with it. However, you can see that it's also mapped in there. It says PPD wreath, diamond arms, outer diamonds, petals. So when I create a new sequence, all I'm doing is hitting the auto map. So here, example, musical sequence. I just literally downloaded the new the new one. Uh, so import effects. There we go. I'm doing it directly from the package sequence. And on this one, I'm just going to hit automap. And I did mine a little bit different before. It was a little easier. And I probably should go back and change it. But here is um,
this is probably something that I'd like you to kind of explain why do you have significantly more groups than
yeah,
that's because this is the challenge for people who have ultra large displays. I've got way more. How do I attempt to tackle this?
okay. So I'll back up then. So in the pro layout, there's one PVD rig. I have two. And you would think, mapping, all the effects over one is fine. It is. However, it depends on what effect basically Clyde uses. So some of the time, if he uses default instead of per model default, the way my PVD wreaths are split up, it's going to split that effect between this one and this one. So what I did was I created a PVD1 group and a PVD2 group, or PVD wreath 1 group and a PVD2. And this way, I basically created a mapping file. This is probably way advanced. I don't know. I created a mapping file instead of hitting auto map. I did this for, PVD1, PVD wreath, or PVD1 wreath spiral all, PVD wreath is a tongue twister, 2 spiral all. They're the same thing, right? But what I'm doing is taking the one PVD wreath from the pro layout, mapping it to this one, and also mapping it to this one,
So
if that makes sense.
so in other words, each PPD wreath has an original set of groups. Now, at the beginning of this, whenever we started, right at the first of the hour, when we started, we talked about exporting with the groups in it, and then importing, and then it would add the groups to it to the existing ones like it. So, so your differentiation is to, you know what? I have this group already. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a second copy of the same groups, and I'm going to put it in a second copy of groups, and I'm going to do a mapping to the second copy. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. So the why this is important to bring this up is because this is one of the biggest. I don't want to say it's a secret, but it's the biggest challenge for people because they don't want to spend time in the layout building all this stuff. The truth of the matter is the ability to build the groups and the ability to differentiate between one version of one high definition prop to another gives you a much more personalized sequenced effect if you take the time to utilize that. And that's what Jeff's done. One of the things that Jeff could now do is he could literally go to PPD PPD Wreath Group 1. It is hard to say, isn't it, Jeff?
It
Um,
is.
you go to Wreath Group 1 and Wreath Group 2. You can put the off effect over some of those, so only one lights up and then the other one lights up to the next beat and the other one lights up, and you can keep doing that kind of that offset type thing where it gives it that personalized touch that you would never find it inside of the pro layout. You wouldn't find it because you are physically creating it. It's easy to put the off effect, or heck, you could delete the effects, but if you delete them, then you'd have to copy and paste them and put them back if you wanted them back again. So
So,
anyway, now that you've kind of made that distinction, now you're doing the actual physical mapping, and so
right.
go ahead from there.
So obviously, auto map doesn't work for this right here. So if you notice here, it says PVD wreath centerpiece, PVD1 wreath centerpiece, PVD2 wreath centerpiece. So the original one is the one that came in with the original PVD wreath. And also, I have the mesmerizer and some of the certified model stuff mapped into this also. So what I have done is it takes a little time. The first one that you do, right? You have to go in here and you're like, all right, so PVD wreath centerpiece here, here, and here, and then center rings here, here, and here. Outer diamonds, outer diamonds. So you can do that. You get it done the first time, and you're like, all right, that's great. Let me cancel this. And what I did is created a mapping file. So I went through and I figured out, all right, all of this stuff, I've got it exactly how I want. I'm going to hit my save mapping and I'm going to save it whatever I want, right? So what I did is I labeled it 2022 mapping, and here comes all the stuff that comes in. There's red lines in there. The reason there's red lines in there is if they don't use all stars or all house decorations or diamond arms in the sequence, it's going to come up as red. That's fine. It's not going to matter. Um, and it doesn't mean that it's missing something. It's just with the sequence that's in here, it just didn't use those.
So
So
what you're saying is whenever you see a red line on here, it only means that the sequence we're mapping from doesn't contain those mapped items.
right. So if you look over here, PPD wreath diamond arms, it's not here.
So in other words, it wasn't sequenced in the original sequence. That
Right.
so it's not that we didn't sequence it, or it's not that it didn't. It just in this sequence it didn't get effects placed on it. They were placed other places. So it's
Yep.
important. It's important that whenever you are doing your mapping, that these little things that and this kind of goes with the mapping side of what we talked about last week. If you are mapping in, don't panic if something's missing. If you feel like something needs to be there, don't feel like that just yet. You can, and I say this in the other video. You don't have to map everything at one time. You can map one thing at a time. So if you need to take it one step at a time, with only map your arches first, and then map your mini trees, and then map. So that anyway, I wanted to make that distinction because that's one place that people do get held up.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You can see also it says spinner dash GI Grand Illusion. So again, I have two of them, and I don't want an effect being split between the two if there was a default render style. So basically, I did the same thing as I got GI1, GI2, rings 1, rings 2. If you go up here and see singing bulb outlines, I use the yard border. So I thought about it, and the bulb outlines, they're basically the same kind of type of effects that would be on a yard border, or you can do windows and door, or you can do arches. Like those single line effects would be great for that. Where's my reindeer? Where's my reindeer? Oh, arches. So yeah, I mapped the arches to the reindeer. So that's the outline of the reindeer. So all of this is already done. I don't have to do anything to it. This is what I basically figured out. My cubes, the small cubes, I didn't want them to do the same thing as my big cubes. So I have the big Gilbert cubes next to the small ones. So I did the columns, the column matrices to the small ones. And then I did the matrix to the large cubes. Why is this not in order? There we go. So cubes large matrix, cube small, column matrices. So I do that, I hit OK. Now, the one thing, this is what I was talking about earlier, is when you get the matrix, it's a video file, and it's always going to be on default, right? Because it's just a single model. So if you come over here, this is the prime example of what I was just talking about, is all the effects are split between the two. So it's going back and forth. And then if there's an explosion, it's going to go, oh, see? So what I do is I change this on cubes and 3D props. It's better to change it to per preview. It's basically kind of like looking from the front. So there, see, it's split between the two. I don't want that. I want them to do the same thing. So I just change this to per model per preview. And there you go. So now, if you look at the layout, the effects are running on the sides also. And then on
Hey, that came out pretty good there.
Yeah, no, I love the cubes. They're high density. The side effects are cool. You can still see images. They're 2,500 pixels per cube. It's a lot. Um, but yeah, it's like having little matrices that you can see the side effects on. The top, the sides. Images are kind of skewed a little bit, like their heads are kind of up at the top sometimes. But yeah, so just map the matrix to it. No one really notices that, I have a big matrix up here and it's, same thing going on down here. What I do with the cube small, it's probably, it's not ideal, but I take all of these and I do the same thing. I bulk edit this. So I highlight them, I right click it, bulk edit, and I change it to per model per preview. And then it's going to have to take time to catch up. Then it's doing something else different than the big cubes. Let's see what else I do. All the way down to the singing bulb. So the singing bulb outlines are here. I don't have the lyric track of this yet, but the reindeer. This one's a little bit more, I guess you could say, advanced. So what I did is I only mapped the arches to the reindeers, right? And then what I do is above it, I insert a layer above it, and then I choose the on effect. And stretch it out. Oh, that's the off effect. And then I change the color to brown, maybe. There's that. And then what I also do is I want all of these effects below it to show through. So what I do is I change my normal, and sometimes I have to play with this between layered, additive, or average. So there, yeah, I'll go through it. So there you can see it shines through. And then the other thing that I do is, I don't know how familiar you are with state effects. I know Clyde's been over it quite a few times. But in the state effects, what I did is, Clyde and I learned this last year. We started messing with it a lot. Is if you go in here, you name uh, the your state effect the same thing across the board. So we came up with static. So just showing this is a static effect. We don't want anything to do with it. This is what I want lit up at all times, right? So technically, I could probably do his body or her body, but this says static. I have static as a state down here. And then if you go over to my other reindeer and you go to the state effect, it also says static, 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 static. And the reason it's important, capitalization matters also. So if one is lowercase and one is uppercase, it'll matter. The reason this matters is you can make a group for them. So I got my reindeer static and then I drop a state effect down. And then what I have to do is if I change it to per model default, it will.
If you don't do it over the whole length of the sequence, just a short period, it usually renders faster.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's got faces also. Jackie and his creativity. um, so I have they don't have a mouth. I just like their eyes blinking. So you don't have to technically make it sing or choose a lyric track. I just want the eyes blinking. So, auto. And then this is same thing, parental default.
So
So then,
So overall, the goal is to get the best kind of. I don't want to say. I don't want to reserve this for importing. I want this to be overall utilizing groups in your show helps you go to way different levels in order to create things. One of the things that people will say is, "Hey, I just want this prop to be on and static." You can always do a background sequence for. I only wanted to do that. We've done videos on a background sequence in xLights or in xSchedule, that is rather. But you can also utilize the prop in the sequence even though it is something that's static and it still can be part of the show. And especially like in the case of the reindeer, or let's say you have Christmas Eve in Sarajevo, TSO's song playing, and the bulbs aren't going to sing, but you want them to do and play effects. Well, you can have them, the face is turned on, and you can have them blinking their eyes during the song, waiting for their time to shine. Or you could leave them off if you wanted to, but you still have those options by putting them in groups. And the other thing I want to point out is one of the things that Jeff talked about was render styles. Now, this is render styles are an entirely different animal. Render styles apply effects a specific way across props that are in groups or across a prop in general. It's there are gobs and gobs of render styles that are available now. And to explain how they all work is a whole nother webinar, which we'll probably attempt to kind of walk through. But it basically, it's like the layer blending tab. It's something that if you spend some time messing around with it, you'll learn a whole lot more about what the effects can do whenever you apply them using the buffer and using that the edited buffer, which every effect has a buffer. Every effect has it can have its own render style, and it can render differently versus even in a stacked effect. So if you have, and again, this is getting off topic, but I want to point it out that when we go through those kind of things, that's where you start to pick up, oh, okay, so this is what I can do compared to what they did in theirs. How one person sets up their layout can be completely different than how somebody else sets their layout up, and what works for one may not work good for you for the other. But whenever you take the time to set up groups, whenever you take the time to pick up on hints such as the um, uh, pick up on the states effect and utilize it and apply it to groups and use those render styles. When you take the time to break down your submodels into groups that can have extra effects applied and not all specifically mapped from one high definition prop into another, you can pick and choose the ones that go in from where and what, so that it always isn't doing it. It'll do something really interesting. It will look different than what is applied to it from the original creator. And so it just kind of wrapping up is to say is that the more creative you are with your grouping, and that you understand that you're not limited to, well, I have one of these and I'm going to map it over to one of these. That's the end all. That's all I can do. And it's not. Just because you've mapped something to one thing doesn't mean you can't map it to another thing. So, Jeff, I'm going to give it back to you. Go ahead and walk him through the rest of what you were going to talk about, and then we'll get to the Q&A session, which I think there's a couple questions somewhere. Let's see.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
mean, this is kind of on the spot, so I didn't have a whole bunch prepared or whatever. The other thing, obviously I have two trees here. Um, Word of advice is I have a group. My wife does some fun stuff with our house, but don't map, like if you have two trees, don't map the mega tree from the pro layout to the group of the trees unless you're going to change your render style, because otherwise it'll split effects between the two. So I always try and map groups to groups, props to props, if that makes sense. So there's only a couple things in the pro layout that is sequenced on the model level. It's just the matrix and the tree, um, and the mega tree star, right, Clyde?
Yeah, that's correct. And now the pixel forest is also on the model
Yeah.
level. There may be sometimes some of the sequencers go. I give them a little bit of liberty, and they might put something on the rooftop to make it pop, or But for the
Yep.
most part, you're mapping pretty much from groups to groups.
Yep. So unless you know this layer settings tab very well, it's just easier to do. Like I just map even though I probably could do it and just change the render style. My trees, I just put the effects on the trees individually. So I have Mega Tree and Mega Tree 2. So when I load the mapping file, I just copy the Mega Tree from the pro layout over to both of these. So same thing with the star. I do the star and star 2. But I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, like I said, I didn't have a lot planned, and I went off on a tangent, and it just tends to happen. But no, I mean that's all I got. If y'all have questions,
So I'm gonna leave it up to the room. If you'd like, we're still live on YouTube. If you have questions, go ahead and unmute your microphone or put them in chat while Jeff's here, and I can answer them, or he can answer them. So if you do, go ahead. If there's no questions, then we're gonna go ahead and say goodbye to YouTube after a bit. So any questions? Go ahead and unmute your microphones.
I have a question.
Tom, go ahead.
I'm having a little trouble figuring out. Matter of fact, I see it in his layout, a pixel forest, and how to set it up.
did you do a cube model or did you do individual single lines?
I tried to do a cube.
The cube is the easiest.
Okay.
You're having trouble setting up the actual prop to make it look right, or
Yeah. Can I bring mine up and show you?
Yeah.
Give me just a minute. Let me switch over to Christmas, and then I'll after I get to there, I'll bring up the screen. Okay, that's do. While I'm doing that, I will tell you that my pixel forest consists of 12 rows, 20 pixels per row, and each pixel stick is 5 pixel tall.
so it's 12 long, 12 back, and 5 tall.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Let me switch back over to.
Are they the icicle pixels, like the ones the custom ones, or did you zigzag them?
They're straight rows.
Right, but the wiring,
The
did you
wiring
buy
is stick to stick to stick to stick to stick.
And then what about where did you buy piece stake pixels, or did you buy regular pixels?
I had custom strings made.
Okay.
And the string is each row is 20 stakes times 5.
So
Okay.
share your screen and then
I'm heading that way. Right now it's kind of screwed up.
it's not the time of year for that.
That's what I've got right now.
All I see is a desktop. That's good. That's
Okay, then I shared the wrong thing. Sorry.
my OCD is going crazy right now.
Let's see. I must have clicked on the wrong one. There we go. See that?
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
I was messing with it today, and I totally sparkled it up.
Yeah. Did you rotate it forward?
I
I think. Yeah.
was messing with the rotation, and I messed with it both in 2D and in 3D, and
Put it in 3D.
Whoa, I'm not very good with 3D, so.
So just a word of advice for everyone: the rotation tool in xLights may seem good. It will cause more issues than you will want. because it doesn't actually rotate the pixels, it just rotates the view.
Right, and it doesn't do anything to the effects at all. In fact,
No,
it makes the effects look wrong because you have to understand what render styles do, and if you don't follow a render style, see, and his layout's 2 dimensional, so it's putting it in
oh,
3D
it is.
doesn't help.
Yeah. All right.
So
Rotate the blue thing back up to the top. What? Yeah, just up, straight up and down, and then grab one of the corners of the and drag it out. Hold on. Drag the top one, like no, yeah, one of those up. Why is it sideways?
well,
like that?
he probably did it in 3D. It had to get turned in 3D to look like that.
It did.
So in any event, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of 200. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
So
It's hard.
yeah, but as far as how it physically looks on the screen, as far as the wiring diagram, is that what you're asking, Tom?
First off, I want to make it look okay. Look like a pixel forest on the screen first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That way you can understand what the effects really look like. And today I was messing with it, and this is where I ended up with it looking like. And I didn't know whether to try to start it all over again or what. Is there any way to fix this, or have I
I
just
would,
So does the model work with the pixels whenever you output the data?
before I messed it up, it looked okay, but
No. Have you tried outputting to lights to it and it looks okay?
it's not hooked up to any light.
Oh,
This is
okay.
my Christmas
oh,
display.
why don't you create? I know. So it looks like you're old school and you do the individual channels yourself, right?
Yeah, it'll be 12. It will be
No,
12.
like over on the left hand side where it says string one, string two. You manually did that.
Yeah,
Okay, so why don't you create a new cube, like drag and drop a new cube in 2D here, and then you can replace a model with this model, and this way it'll keep all your parameters the same.
let's see, where's the key?
It's left, alphabetical order, right there.
Okay, create a new cube. Okay,
Drag and drop.
oops. Ah,
Are you using a laptop, Tom?
no.
Okay.
All right, so you
Oh,
got
there
it.
it is.
So click on it,
Okay, there we
and
go.
the width. So going left to right, how many rows are there?
Left to right, there would be
20.
if yeah, 12 rows. You mean talking about from front to back?
No, left to right. So looking at it
Oh,
straight
20
on.
rows. 20
Yeah.
rows.
Do 20 on the width,
Okay.
5 on the height, and then 12 on the depth. And then drag that out to the right a little bit. Well, no, just the side, just like the blue dots. Just
Oh,
and then it zigzags.
it'll
And then you
start.
want to change the direction from horizontal left to right to vertical left
But
and
this
right.
is only showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going backwards.
That's right.
See, this is 20 across. and
We'll change horizontal left to right to vertical left to right.
Do what now?
Yeah, change horizontal left to right to vertical left and right.
Okay.
See, no zigzag. Why is that? Oh yeah, depth. You need to change 5 to 12.
anytime you
Okay.
click, you have to click off of a cell whenever you're in the
Okay,
model data.
that's kind of like what it looked like before.
Okay, and then where are you starting? Are you connecting all of them? Like how are you wiring this?
Uh, each row from front to back on the left side will be each row has a one channel.
Okay, so vertical left to right should be vertical front to back.
Yeah, vertical left to right should be vertical front to back.
Yeah. So mine, I wire them from the right to the left or left to the right. So it should be vertical front to back. And then no zigzag means you're not skipping pixels or whatever.
Right.
Uh, and then that's going to be it. And then what I would do is right, Clyde, make sure it'll keep his channels the same, right? If you right click, replace the model with this model, it'll keep his.
As long as both models are the same. If I before I would replace a model with a model, I would screenshot that. That way, if
Well, you know what
well,
I made?
I don't honestly, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to carry that over because you're asking it to.
This hasn't been hooked up to anything. It's not hooked to a controller or anything.
So
So I can just get rid of the other one.
right. So
Are the start channels right?
It's not hooked to a controller.
I know, but did you manually put those in there? Are they? Is it right?
12 channel. Yeah, it'll be 12 start channels.
Okay. Yeah, I would.
Well, on this one, let's go to.
Well, here's what I'm saying: is go back to the other model.
It'll be individual. It'll be individual start channels.
Yeah, just take a picture of that. I want to see if this will work. So take a picture of the where it says cube and just the start channels, so you know what it is.
Okay,
All right, now
that's the old one.
go to the new cube and
Okay.
right click. Hold on, let's change vertical front to back to vertical left and right to match your other one, and then we'll flip it backwards.
Do what now? Oh,
So
this
click on
one?
that. Yep. Change vertical front to back. Change it back to vertical left to right. That's what your other one is. And then now right click the model.
uh,
Replace the model with this
wait,
model.
it unselected the individual start channels.
Oh,
Do I need?
yeah. Click on that.
Let's hook it up to. I think I got a. Yeah, I've already defined a controller. Okay, so let's go ahead and individual start channel.
Click on that and then hit save.
I'm working on it. It's not taking the individual start channels.
Because it's not set up like the other one was.
Okay, let's do this. Let's go use start channel.
All right.
Ah, there we go.
Hit save.
My fingers punching too. Okay, now it's showing 20 strings.
Yeah, because it's left to right. Once you change it to front to back, it won't be.
Okay, so
Right click.
right click the old one.
No, the new one.
Okay.
Replace the model with this model in the middle. And then choose your cube. Speaking of a big layout, jeez.
Yeah, a long time ago we learned that when Tom volunteers to have his layout done with something, we know that
Yes.
it's going to be a deep dive.
Hit yes whenever the pop-up comes up.
Okay.
All right. Oh, it did not keep it. So change the vertical left and right to vertical front back, and that should change it to.
Give it a second. No zigzag.
Uncheck individual start channels and check it again.
Should I also say 12 strings instead of one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you might have to uncheck and check it again. Why is it doing that?
That's why I came to the pros.
Vertical front to back. What other options are there under direction? Is it stacked front to back? No, that's weird.
It's still picking the width instead of the
I
depth.
know. I don't know.
See, it's picking the start channel down here in the lower left-hand corner.
Right. And do you want it there or do you want it on the right side?
The left side is, I don't care which side it is because
Yeah.
I can put the controller on either side of it.
Yeah, no, it should be the width, it shouldn't matter. You should,
I mean, that's the correct number of stakes.
yeah.
Not, it's kind of hard to tell what the depth is.
Yeah, I mean, if you stretch it way far up, you'll see the depth.
See,
But
that
again,
don't make, that don't
it's
make sense.
it's not in 3D.
No. Let me flip it to 3D just to. It's stacked five high.
Change stacked front back to vertical left and right.
Left to right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or sorry, front to back. Hit save and then put it back in 3D. Why is it doing that?
Am I trying to do something it can't do?
No, I mean, that's how mine is. It's just 10 wide, 5 in depth, and 10 tall. Layers all start. Oh, click layers all start in the same place. And then check 3D again.
See, it's
So
5 tall.
it's 5 tall. It's just stretched really high. If you take it out of 3D and then make it, yeah, it's just overlapping because it's in 2D. So in the middle here, click on the orange dot and then drag the green, the top one, just straight down. Oh, not all the way, but yeah, I mean, like 5 high or there you go. And then rotate around. It should be right.
When you say rotate,
Hold the left mouse button down.
mm-hmm.
Just there you go. So that's right. I mean, that's 5 tall, 12 back, 20 across to the right. I don't understand why.
And why don't I have a green dot on all these?
Assign it to a controller. Take the use start channel off and assign it to that cube.
And see, it's still showing.
You don't have to take it in and out of 3D to make a change to it.
Okay, I've assigned it to a controller. You want me to go back?
Yeah.
Yeah, so now it's gonna automatically apply. If you go to add this to a controller in the visualizer, it's gonna give you 12 strands because that's how many strings you said it has.
Let's go
Yeah,
to
good. Oh, you need to move the cube over. You didn't tell it to go to port 1. There you go. 5.
There you go, 12.
That looks correct. Let's go back and look at the layout.
Unless it's in 3D, it's going to look funky.
Yeah, that's the downside of doing the cube model, and with the way that you've kind of affixed your layout, it's going to be hard for you to see it in 2D. I mean, I have the same issue whenever I do, because we do the cube on a 2D layout, and I have to program it as if it's on. That's why I program it on the cube, and I don't use the per preview very often, because the per preview on mine is going to look different than the per preview on yours.
I hate that.
What'd you do?
That. If you hit the direction button
more than 8 times, it takes it way off the. Yeah, it's 8 times. If you hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it starts taking off.
I know, I forget that. And you give it a break in between, it will. And I like to use the arrow keys because sometimes if I drag something, that's close to where it's going to be. Let's flip to 3. I'm going to convert my layout to 3D someday.
Okay, it looks like we got you kind of set up there. I'm going to switch over to YouTube here, and that's going to wrap it up for everybody over on YouTube. And I don't know if Rob's still able to look at the screen, but if he can go ahead. Facebook, thanks for joining us. YouTube, thanks for joining us. Guys, we appreciate that you spend your time hanging out with us here in the PPD Zoom room. By all means, you can join us for the Q&A. It's going to be an open session here for the rest of the night, and you're welcome to join us. If you like the video, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, and by all means, subscribe, hit the channel, the subscribe button on the channel. And if you like what we do here at Pixel Pro Displays, we try to bring updated content as much as we can. By all means, consider joining the PPD Sequence Club, where you get one awesome sequence each and every month, and we sure appreciate what you do for us here at Pixel Pro Displays. So guys, have a great evening. I will catch you soon. Take care. And have a good one. And that takes care of you.